Hello, B.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, give a couple of people, give some time for people to come in and show up a little bit. But how is your day so far?
It's boiling hot in Sweden.
Oh,
We're
I'm not. No, no, I'm not saying anything this time.
weather, weather, weather.
I know.
It's it's
I got in
summer,
trouble
all
last
right.
time.
It's summer. It's
Uh huh.
very, very summery summer.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't like it. More summer means I cry a lot more when I'm streaming because I'm allergic to sunlight. You
You're
can't
looking
cry now.
at
I am. Gives me migraines and I tear up and stuff happens.
Yeah. Okay.
So what are we talking about today?
We are. This is going to probably hope maybe be a little bit of a shorter stream. We're kind of coming to the end of a lot of the things that we're doing, and therefore it's going to be a little bit more, subdued and until we kind of come back in. I think last stream I said a couple of times that we were taking a little bit of time off, mainly due to conferences and local holidays and things like that. But I think the plan is that we'll be back most likely in the third week, the second week in June, week 24. I'm sorry, week 25.
Week 24 is tech days.
Yes, exactly. Hence the reason why I was like, that's not right. It should be week 25. But so we're going to need to go ahead and kind of reorient and do things and try to figure out what we're going to be looking at. Today, however, we are today and Thursday maybe. Today we're going to go ahead and take a little look at costings. Z boss man slash Z client basically said, hey, you know what? Maybe it's a good idea to go ahead and try to explain costings and how to go ahead and look at the item costing and explain how that works. The problem with this, however, is I've never actually set up costings. So
Yes,
to this
we will learn
morning,
together.
huh?
We will learn together.
Exactly. No, I did go ahead and I did kind of a panicked run through of it to see if I could get it to see if I understood my understanding of everything was correct. I think so. We'll have to see what happens, but at least we'll go ahead and be able to, I know we'll be able to kind of show what's some of the stuff that's going on and things with that. Um, we might then go ahead, depending on how that long that takes, we might then go ahead and take a little bit about bins and talk about the data that we're going to need in the system in order to go ahead and kind of continue this series. So we'll go ahead and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. Jeremy should actually be joining us hopefully in about an hour or so. I know that he was out doing something at the moment. So therefore, he'll hopefully come back in. We can go ahead and then discuss the schedule and then go ahead and kind of see what we will do for Thursday if we are going to go ahead and the tentative plan right now is to talk about assembly and assembly to stock, and we'll talk about that on Thursday if we decide to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we will come back in mid-June, week 25 ish, to go ahead and continue this series with everybody to talk about the next company that we'll be going ahead and setting up, and getting things to start getting things rolling with that
I
stuff.
don't think we've ever talked about how many companies we're doing.
No, I don't know. I thought we did, but that might have been such a long time ago.
A small, tiny recap, maybe, for people.
Yeah, maybe. I will have to go ahead and pull up that. Okay, yeah, there it is. So we're actually going to go ahead and be setting up several companies. The first one, well, this was our first one. The play,
The place, the thing.
the plays the thing. Yes. The next one that we're going to be setting up is, I believe, all you. I think it's all you can see. I
I
think.
think so. Yes.
Yeah, but each one of the companies that we have here, so yeah, we have all you can see,
Feast your
Eyes Your Feast,
eyes. Feast.
Plethora,
Yes.
and at the final, the overarching umbrella company that we'll be going ahead and setting up is what's the fluff.
It's the best name ever. It is
I
the
have to
best name
admit,
ever.
I have to admit, right next to Fluff Bucks, and then Floof for cents. Is a really good name.
I'm just trying to give people context because I got asked once, like, why do we have like a dog and a small tiny broccoli as the thumbnail for our streams? And
Uh-huh.
it's gonna come to a very good closing.
Okay. But each one of those companies, for example, the plays the thing is the one that we're is all of like the toys and things like that, and selling of those types of things. All you can see is aquarium is going to be a company that builds its services, designs aquariums, and all of their financial transactions and all of their that company is going to be geared towards that theme. Eyes Your Feast is going to be a pet food company, where they're going to be going ahead and buying creating the food, manufacturing it, and selling and selling that, um, selling the selling the food, the pet foods, and things like that. Um, Finally, the Pet Plethora company is actually not. It's a company, but it's more of a logistics and warehousing company, so that they can go ahead and they'll be the central company that will service all of the other ones. And like I said earlier, the what the fluff is going to be the
What the floof?
floof. Yes, it is floof. I'm sorry. When I read that, I was like fluff. Anyway, um, but that company is going to be the hierarchy and or not the hierarchy, but the umbrella company and the intercompany transactions and things like that when we get to that point. So, yeah. So that's just as a small recap. If we didn't go ahead and talk about it earlier, I think I could have sworn we did, but who knows? It's been a while. If I, though, however, I know that I still have this document. So let me go ahead and pop this one up, and I will share my screen after I go ahead and move things around because there we go. Um, So, I mean, this is what we're talking about when we go ahead and we have all of these icons and things about what things we're going to go ahead and talk about. Here is this column is the overarching what the Floof company. This is the one that we're currently working on, which is our uh, plays the thing. The here's our fish. It's got the little fishy. The all you can see, and so on. And then each one of these icons is referencing one of these things that we're going to go ahead and talk about in each company. Like here's fixed assets is a part of all you can see. So when we go talk about all you can see, we'll talk about a lot of the fixed assets. And here's like sales and receivables. We'll go over certain things in context of the warehousing departments and the warehousing company, how those sales and receivables are slightly different in how things happen with compared to a buying and selling services type of company rather than a warehousing one. So that's where we're kind of going with this and showing how those things are going to interact with, you know, with over the overall scheme of the live stream that we're kind of doing here. So anyway, so while we let me shrink out of this, and we are going to go ahead today and kind of talk about costings. Um, in the system, there are the item costing is the way that we go ahead and identify what an item is worth in BC. There are various ways of doing this, and we're going to kind of go over like a simple costing functionality, and try to get that set up and working, so that people know. Just as an example of how this works. Um, big thing for this, however, you're going to go ahead in the item card. You're going to see these costing and posting fast tab. We've kind of ignored this at at this point, because one of the things, the costing method is what we go how this well, I should say it's the base field that kind of drives a lot of the costing functionality. And the methods are there's five methods that we have in the system. Um, and these methods drive how those what those standard costs and what those unit costs, how that actually happens. um, for example, right now, out of the box, everything comes in as first in first out, or FIFO. That means basically when you're going ahead and you have a FIFO as a costing method, that basically means that you're taking the oldest items and you're selling those first. So if you're going ahead and the way that it was explained to me the best was that, okay, you're a grocery store. The milk that you sell, you always want to have that as a FIFO item because it's going to expire. You need to sell that milk, the older milk, first, so that you can go meaning first stuff. The first stuff that you get is always going to be the older stuff. So that you need to sell that first so that it doesn't expire and you have to throw it out. Um, the other costing method that we have that BC can do is called uh, LIFO. This, however, is only really used in the United States. There's some legalities. It's not. You got to check with your partners or your accountants for this one, mainly because of the fact that this is last in first out, meaning that the things that you've just received are the ones that you're going to go ahead and sell first. So if you have older products, I think books, like you might go ahead and buy, 50 books at, a certain cost. And then you have, say 50 books at, $5 a book, and then you get another shipment but that one is, $6 a book. You're selling the $6 a book first. That's not really used anywhere else, as far as I can tell, with the exception of the United States. And in some cases, from what I can read, and I'm no lawyer or accountant, but it seems to be illegal in several countries too. Um, but it is available mainly for the United States, from my understanding. Specific, however, is is basically when you have the unit cost that you've bought it
Yeah.
is always going to be is always going to be used when you're selling that item too. So that it's always going to be a fixed price. You don't have to really worry about it. Average is obviously average. It's going to be okay. It's your unit cost for your inventory costings and everything else is going to be an average of what you're buying it for over time. Um, that is many times what people use, but it obviously depends upon organization and everything else. Um, the last one that we have is the standard, which the actual cost is realized later. The standard cost must be adjusted to the actual cost at several times throughout the year, depending upon what factors are being presented there. Um, which is really interesting in the way of of certain, aspects of what your business does. I mean, if you're always going to get, that cat litter for 4 floof bucks, and it's never going to change, a standard or specific is what you're going to probably end up using for something like that. Once again, take a look if you're going to be going ahead and setting up costings. Um, Other than first in, first out, talk to your accountants. This is talk to your clients, figure out what's going to be best for you. Microsoft Learn has several pages, because I just read them all on this, and can help with going ahead and choosing which one's right for the items. Caveat to all of this: um, if you go ahead and try to adjust this, if there are ledger entries, meaning that if you've posted stuff to this particular item, you cannot change costings. Let me repeat that. You can't change costings later if they have ledger entries. So this is something that either needs to be an item has to be created new in order to change costings, and the old item blocked, or it has to be set up before you go ahead and do anything in the system with that particular item. You will get an error if I go ahead and try to set this to specific. You'll get an error here that says, nope, come here. I was trying to use that nifty little thing. Validating a field item cost removed revealed a problem in field item tracking code. Oh, well, that's not the error that I was thinking it's going to be.
But it gave you an error.
Oh, yeah, it did give me the error, which I was expecting. It just wasn't the one that I was expecting. Why is it giving you this? It says has 2 errors, but I only see 1. All right, so hold on. Let's see if we can fix this error in field item tracking code. Replenishment, planning, item tracking. Oh, okay. It's looking for an item tracking code in order to go ahead and do that. This item tracking card is mainly used when you're going ahead and you're talking about serial numbers, and sometimes with bins and other types of lots, lot and bin tracking. So we're just going to put standard in there and just leave it off. But so now I don't think it shouldn't let me go ahead and do this. If I go specific down, yes. Okay, so specific, I forgot to mention this. Specific means that you also need to have, this is only used with serial numbers. So if you have if you're trying to use specific with item tracking, it needs to go, since it's going to go ahead and track the unit cost based upon a serial number for each item coming in. You need to use serial numbers in order to, and have serial numbers set up in the system for each individual, for those particular items. So that's the reason for this error. Okay, so yeah, so like specific serial on specific trail. Hold on, let me show you here. Must be yes in item tracking standard when costing mode is specific. So if I go back to, let's actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and try setting that up. I have no idea. So serial numbers, specific tracking. That's, oh yes, this is going to also go into warehousing, purchasing tracking, sales tracking. Everything needs to be turned on for this, or mostly. So all right, let's give that a shot. See what happens. Okay, but I think, yeah, no, we just have it turned on, or did it I bet, yeah, okay, so yeah, it reverted to standard. So hold on, let me refresh this again. Switch this to SN. See, this is the error that I was expecting to get when we tried doing this. I did it again. So here is this. You cannot change the item tracking code because there are one or more ledger entries for this item. This is the same thing as what you're going to get if you try to change this from, for example, first in, first out to average. You cannot change the crest because there are one or more ledger entries in the system. So yeah, this has to be done before, or you'll either need to block this item and create a new item based upon that, or go ahead and um, uh, make sure that this is all set up beforehand before you do anything with items. So there's my warning about it. We can go with that. So what we will do is, because of the fact that we did go ahead and have a couple of these items, well, some of the, at least half of our items, we didn't actually go ahead and put any inventory in for. We can use some of these to go ahead and set this stuff up. So let's go ahead and just go with like 160, 161, 162, like a set here, so that we can go ahead and set it up. So we'll use this one as still the first in, first out. There's our unit cost. That's fine. We'll go ahead and set this one up as specific, and we'll see if this works. So we need to go back to our item tracking code, set it to here, and now it's set up for specific. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and we'll do one for average, and one for standard. Now, notice that the standard cost here just got put in. So I think it was $15.99 as a standard. Yeah, so then it's validating here saying, hey, wait a minute. There may be open orders and open ledger entries for this item. If you change the standard cost, that might affect new orders and entries. Are you sure? And in this case, since I know that we haven't used this one yet, that's fine. So, all right. So what I figured we'd do then is that now that this is set up, why don't we go ahead and get some information, get some inventory into the system by using the purchase orders. That way we can go ahead and see what that does to these costing methods when we go ahead and take a look. So here, remember, here's our things, and we've gone ahead and we've set up some costing methods here for our items. One thing I do want to check on, though, inventory setup has a function, yes, called automatic cost adjustment. And here's our default costing method too. So we can set it to a default, so it will always go, hey, you know what, everything is going to always be average or whatever. We can go ahead and make sure that that's set up there. Here is the automatic cost posting and automatic cost adjustment. If you turn these on, it will go ahead and set up it will always try to go ahead and do the adjust cost when you go ahead and you post an item or use an item or anything that affects inventory and or the GL, depending upon the options you choose. Highly recommended that you turn it on. Otherwise, you need to go ahead and set up run manually the adjust cost process, which we will get to, in order to see any of those changes. I have seen more than one client that for some reason they started using inventory and this was never turned on, and things got so out of sync that it was really difficult to go ahead and actually fix their database because of the fact that their costings were off by so much, and it really was a nightmare and a mess. Out of the box, meaning normally when you set up a new company, this stuff should be turned on by default.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why this one was not. But I think that the reason for that is because we went ahead and when we set things up, when we first initially created the company, it was a totally new company with blanks, and we imported a lot of the data. Many times, and we didn't import everything. So some of the inventory setup stuff, I know that we didn't go ahead and import or set up or things like that. But always, as part of a setup of a new company, check to make sure that these, automatic cost postings are set up, as you know, and automatic cost adjustments are turned on, so that that things are you're not going to run into something. So somewhere in the process, something's not going to break down, and client is not going to forget to run those reports. But I'm going to turn them off for right now, because I want to actually show what happens when you run the report and see that costing come through, and see what happens to it when we do certain things. So let's go ahead and set up some purchase orders. So let's go purchase law, purchase orders. There we go. Let's set up a new purchase order. And it doesn't really matter who normally we would go ahead and we would, have the using the right vendors and things, but for demonstration purposes, this should be fine. The vendor invoice number, we'll do this as cost test 1. And that's not a comment. We're going to go ahead and use item. And we know that we're going to use 60 catnip spray, because we have that's costings. This will be obviously our location code. Let's see, how many should we buy, V, first?
12.
12. All right, we'll buy 12. And looking at this, our original assessment of how much this was going to be was $12.99. Let's say that we got it for cheaper. Let's say that we got it for $9.99 a piece rather than 12. Well, I should say that's how much we're selling it for, not how much we're going to be buying it for. So we got this for $9.99, like that. And then we need 0.61. That one is our unit price for that is basically 120. That's still the same one. So how many of these? 20, 25, 50?
26.
26. Okay. And let's say that we got these for like 80 a piece. So a significant, upsell. Well, not upsell. Profit margin if we can sell, since we can buy it for that. Let's do 10. Sure. You don't care.
Yeah.
That works. Okay, so this is a rabbit hay feeder, and this is $16.99. That's how much we can sell. So we buy it. Maybe we'll buy it for 11. And finally, 1063. That hamster exercise wheel. Those are $19.99, and we get them for $19.99. Let's say we get them for 6. Yay! All right. So this is our initial order. I want to go ahead and put this document date back a little bit. I want to go ahead and say that we got these maybe April 8th. The reason for that is my plan is here is to go ahead and kind of generate a bunch of different POs over time, so that we can see what happens to them as we go through these costings. So, okay, oops, I didn't necessarily mean to back out all the way. But, all right, so let's go ahead and post. Let's go release this. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Only can be released when the approval process is complete. Something we set up it was last week. But I'll send the approval request. Since I'm the approver, I've ordered this. My user is allowed to approve anything because he's the approval admin. We won't have to log back in and back out again and go ahead and do that, and spend the time doing that. So we're going to go ahead and post this. It's going to go ahead and say, you must assign a serial number for 1061. Okay, remember that item 1061 is the serial number. Is the one that has the specific costings. So that means that we got to go back to that item and set up some serial numbers so that it knows what item is what coming in, or what is batches. So here's this. That's a shelf number, but if we come down here to that's replenishment or reordering policy, where is it? There it is. So serial numbers. And I don't think we have a serial number in here, do we? Nope. So let's go ahead and create a new, caps lock. I can call it item SNs. And we'll say that we can use this. I'm going to put this back a ways so that it knows that we can use that. Starting number will be SN. Well, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to give it a lot of stuff that it can do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Warning number is SN. I think that's right. Hopefully.
That's a huge margin.
It is. So there we go. Last date used, default numbers, and that should be okay here. Okay, so now that we have serial numbers in there, let's go back and see if we can post that. Post that now. Oops. Purchase orders, and see if it'll let us post. I did this.
BC is not cooperating, is it?
Nope. Well, it's once again, this is one of those lack of my knowledge on how exactly all this costing works right out of the box. So let's go ahead and then let's go back to items. Or hold on a second. Well, let me do open a related record. Yeah, it's not going to let me go ahead and do this, is it? Nope. Darn it. I was kind of hoping it would let me.
I don't want to.
Nope, I don't want to. So we need to go to, this is 161. So I thought I saw the serial numbers here. Item tracking. Serial numbers is that. That's lot numbers, which is a different thing. Okay, maybe this has, since we did assign this, maybe this is one of those times when it's because of the fact that the item that we've done, since it's already on the invoice, already on the order, it's not sure, it hasn't pulled in the data that it actually needs. Oops. Sorry. What that error was is that when I went ahead and tried to delete that line, it warned me saying, hey, wait a minute, you have to make sure that this is open before you can go ahead and change anything. So let's go ahead and say reopen. That'll reopen this. That will allow us to go ahead and delete this. And we'll insert a new line here. And we'll do the 1061 again. Do this. We'll make it 26. I think that's what we said originally. And this was 80-ish. Okay. So let's see now if it'll let us go ahead and do that. Oh, it must be approved. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's see if this works now. No, must assign a serial number. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back.
Did we assign a wrong serial number?
No, well, we set the serial number series, which I thought would go ahead and allow us to just go and set that would automatically set a serial number for it. However, that doesn't seem like the case. So let's go ahead and see related. Is there something in stock keeping units? I'm wondering if I'm just missing something in the menus that is going to go ahead and see. There's our substitution, item references. History. I'm wondering if we have to add it somewhere else, even though that the series is set up. We still need to go ahead and say, hey, wait a minute, we need we need that from somewhere. But I'm not seeing it. I was thinking it might be on the thing, but no, I guess not. Item tracing? That's serial number filter. Okay, let's maybe it's somewhere in lines. Item tracking lines, document line tracking, item. Aha.
Aha.
Here we go. So let's go ahead and say assign serial number. Okay, so what I did is I went to, when I was on that line, I went to the item tracking lines here so that we could go ahead and say, wait a minute, all right. So yeah, see this one, even when it pulled in the item tracking code, it linked it to going, oh, wait a minute, we have to go ahead and put in a serial number for this. And the quantity base. Okay, this makes more sense though. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and assign a serial number. Let's see if this works. Quantity to create 26 because of the fact that we have 26 on our lines. Here's our create serial number information for each number, and we'll click OK. So there we go. Okay, so here we go. Here's our serial numbers. It gave every single one. Perfect. Okay, so we assigned it. I think that's all that we need to do. So go ahead and click close. That should have saved it. Now, if we go back to item tracking lines, it does have all of our serial numbers in here for each individual one. Since we're not using lot tracking and we're using serial numbers because this is all set to specific, I'm 90% sure that this is the right thing to do. Well, I can always ask Jeremy when we go ahead and do this. So this is still released, so that's fine. Let's go ahead and try posting this and see if it likes it now. Purchase variance. Oh, purchase variance amount is missing in general posting setup. Purchase. Yeah, I know where this is. We can go ahead and open up this related record. And down here, there is purchase variance amount account. What this is used for, when the direct cost is applied, it's allowing you to go ahead and say, hey, wait a minute, with this particular business posting group and a product posting group, if there is a direct cost applied, where are we going to go ahead and temporarily store that money until things are adjusted? In this particular case, I'm not really totally worried about it. So we're going to go ahead and go to purchases. I'll just put it in the same purchases account over here, and that should be fine. Once again, though, anytime you're working with GL accounts or things like that, let's go ahead and make sure that you're talking to your accountants to make sure that you're using the right items and things like that to set up. So, okay. So let's, once again, last post. Okay. It posted this time. So the order is posted as number, PI 0002. And let's take a look at the open one. Looks like we're good here. Wonderful. Excellent. So now that we've got one in there, let's go ahead and let's create another one. Because we want to go ahead and generate a bunch of different costings for this. When I click new, what I'm going to do here is, instead of retyping and getting all of this stuff set up, there is a way that you can do what's called a copy document. Copy document is great. If you're going to have, in some cases, like documents that you need to go ahead and kind of reuse, and it's not often enough to go ahead and have like a blanket memo, a blanket purchase order or something like that, you can use this to kind of generate them when you need to. I'm going to include the header, which is going to give us all the header information, and I'm going to recalculate the lines. That will go ahead and make sure that everything on the lines have been calculated and validated so that we can reuse them again. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, click OK. And the first thing that it does when it generates this for us is it's going ahead and saying, hey, wait a minute, this gave us a comment saying, hey, this is from the invoice, the first invoice number there, or this is the posted purchase invoice 2. You can keep that or delete it. It's just more for your reference saying that, hey, this one was copied. So a couple of things that we're going to need to do here. First off, we're going to go ahead and put in a different quantity. Yep, there it goes. System is being a little daft. So I'm going to say 10. I'm going to make this 28. Actually, no, I'm going to make this 5. I'm going to make this one 13. Oh, what's the error here? Item tracking defined the accounts for more than the okay. So what this did, yeah, what this did was is this once this went ahead and here let me zoom in on this error. So since item tracking was defined for our old document that we copied, it copied the same item tracking in for the new for these new on the lines that it had. In this particular case, though, these are technically going to be new items, so we're going to need new serial numbers. So we'll have to go back through and delete that item tracking next, so that we can go ahead and make the new create new items for the or new serial numbers for those items. So let's go ahead and let's just refresh. Let's go to, for this line, we'll go back to our item tracking lines. And we will go ahead and yoink this, manage. Because we will need new item tracking lines for this stuff. Go ahead and delete. Now that that's gone, we should be able to go ahead and adjust this down to 5. Yep, there it goes. That's us. Let's say that we're going to go ahead and do a larger order for those hay feeders, and the exercise wheel we need, we're going to go ahead and do another 10 of. So these were the costs that we had on our first purchase order. So let's go ahead and adjust these a little bit so that we've got different data to go with. Say that we had to spend a little bit more on those, a little less on this, and say a little more on that one. And then we'll do the same thing as we did last time. We went ahead and go here. We'll go to our item tracking lines. We'll go ahead and assign the serial numbers, create serial number information. And there it goes. Close that and post. Oh, I keep forgetting that. Approve and release. Yep. Cool. And now this. Oh, interesting error. Purchase invoice cost test 1 already exists for this vendor. So what that means here is that when we go back, remember how we had that invoice number? Since we copied the header information, it's going ahead and say, well, wait a minute, you can't have the same vendor invoice number for this for another invoice. You've already gone ahead and have that. You have that in your system already. Simple enough, we can go ahead and change that. But BC does have the ability to go ahead and take a look at those invoice numbers and say, hey, wait a minute, you've got nothing there. You can't post that because you've already got one. So anyway, post. Okay, move to the posted invoice window. Perfect. Okay, so there we go with our new things here. I could keep going ahead and doing this, but let's go ahead and see what happens when we go ahead and go to our items and run a cost adjustment for them. We're going to go ahead and run it on everything, but we specifically want to go ahead and see what happens when we go ahead and see our 160 to 163. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm going to take a screenshot of this actually, so we can compare it once we're done. And notice how we have that cost is adjusted field as it's saying, well, wait a minute, BC recognizes that this hasn't happened yet, and we've got purchases or sales once we go ahead and do that there. Okay, so not sales. I wanted to go to back to items. I believe item. I know you can do it in the things, but periodic activities, adjust cost item entries. Now, this is a report that'll go through everything and go ahead and say, well, wait, and do these calculations so that it can do the adjust cost process. So if we click OK, it's quick because we don't have that many transactions. But if we take a look down here, we can see that these items were adjusted based upon what we had selected. So here, that's going to be the closest we're going to get. Okay, so the catnip spray, our costs for this, or the value of per item in this, currently it sits at 908, 555, 545. Yeah. And then we got, a little over at 80.65 rounded. This one went down a little bit because this is the average one. This is specific. That one was first in, first out. That's the average costing. And that's 1025, so that went down a little bit. And since standard costing is basically standard, it stayed the same, obviously. So what happens when we go ahead and we put a purchase order in for some of these items that we're looking at? That's going to adjust the costing too, because that's going to also say, hey, this is what we kind of sold it for. Let's see what happens. So let's go ahead and do a sales order. We'll do a new one. And who should we sell it to? Let's go ahead and sell it to Donald Roberts. Sounds good to me. I'm going to go ahead once again. I'm going to set these dates back a little ways so that we can see what happens when we put them historically in between the purchases that we did. So there's this. We're going to just kind of copy these over there so that we can see what happens. And then I want an item. And we need 1060, a catnip spray. Then we're going to go 1061. Come on. There we go. 1062. 1063. And there we go. Cool. All right, so we have those now. We don't need to have a purchasing code or anything else. This is just going to be standard. He's going to get maybe 2 of these, 2 of those, 4 of these, and 1 of those. So a simple order. And they're going to just sell for the correct, the normal amount that we go ahead and we have them for. So that's the original prices that we have in the system for that. Let's go ahead and approve. Request approval. Send approval request. Yep, that's right, because I'm super admin and it doesn't matter. And we'll go ahead and post ship in invoice. Look at this. Same thing on the other side. We have to go ahead and still assign a serial number for that particular item.
How many times do we need to do this serial number? How many times do we have to assign a serial number for this particular item?
Well, remember, since it's specific costing, every item that comes into the warehouse or every item that comes into our stock has to have a unique and individual serial number, because it's specifically tracking every single item and what costs we had on that. So if we're pulling them in, we need a serial number, and we need to assign a serial number to them
going out
when they leave, when they're sold.
Okay.
So we go to, come on, item tracking lines. We can say assign the serial number. We have 2. We don't need to create I don't think we need to create it this time. Let's see what happens when we do this. Yeah. Because it's going, is it using that? I'm not sure. Because I think that's the next serial numbers. We don't really necessarily need to have, I think we need to use the ones that are there. So we need 1 here and 1 here. If I go ahead and look here, okay, see serial number list, there's nothing here. Huh. I thought you needed to go ahead and, no, I thought you needed to go ahead and use a serial number that's in there already. Maybe I'm incorrect in that, because that's not going to give me anything there. Select entries, assign serial number, assign lot number, clear, create this customized one. So I don't think that's what we need. Line. Yeah, okay, because there's no value in there yet, and that's not going to work either. Select it. See, I thought we'd be able to go ahead and select it, but maybe not. See, assign serial number, quantity to create 2. I don't necessarily want to create the serial number information. Oh no, maybe not. Because I think if it gave us like 32 and 33 last time. So maybe not. Let's delete these and see if it would when we do this again. No, it is increasing. That's interesting. I'm not sure if that's right or not. So I'll have to, that's something that we'll need to go ahead and maybe talk to. Huh. You did not have enough inventory to meet the demand? I should have enough inventory to meet the demand. So what happens if we just put this in as 01 and 02? Because those we have. Item tracking, there's undefined over there. Quantity to invoice, quantity to base. Yeah. Why is it saying that we don't have enough inventory? Yeah, see, it says no here for the availability. I'm not sure why that is. It says we have total. Why don't we have that? Okay, let's go to the item. Let's see why that would be. I'm not quite. Oh, I know. I bet I know what's going on.
What's going on?
I don't think that we set a location. And since serial numbers require, since we need to, since serial numbers require location codes, I bet that's the reason why it's going ahead and yelling at us. Yes. Okay. So here's the tracking. Yep. I bet that's what the problem is here. It's the serial. It's looking for a tracking location code. So it's not going ahead and going and generating that stuff right, because it's going, well, wait a minute, you're trying to get this from a spot that doesn't have anything. Oops, delete. Close. Okay. Now do this. Now if we go ahead and do this, no, go away. There. Okay. That's better. Yeah. Location code is actually really important if you're using it. So, oops, not there. We want to go to our item. We're going to go to line, related information, item tracking lines. If we assign serial number now, see now, look at this. It's saying now there's availability in serial numbers down there on that. So let's go ahead and click OK. Yep. Well, okay. See now, look, it's going ahead and saying, well, now there is no availability because it's generating 2 new numbers for us. So let's go ahead and let's delete these. And let's go ahead and do this. Here we go. Now that serial number list, when I clicked on it here, it then went ahead and said, oh, okay, here's the ones that you have available. God. Okay, Okay, so now why is that not going ahead and pulling this in? Let's go back to our... I hate item tracking. It's good. It has its it's really important for a lot of things, but it's one of the, like I keep saying, it's one of the areas in the system that I am not nearly as familiar with as things. Anyway, Jeremy's giving me gas. Okay, let's see if we can now post this now that we've got some serial numbers set up. Yes, there it is. The order just posted. We're good. Posted sales invoices. Now, we don't need to go ahead and see it right this second. Okay, so now that we have that, let's go ahead and go back to our items and see what happens if we go ahead and see, look, remember how BC realized that we had a transaction with those items and the cost is no longer adjusted. So let's go now back to actions and periodic activities and do another adjust costs. Okay,
Sure.
there we go. And notice here too, once again, our costs have been updated to reflect what's going, the first in and first out, and the specific item tracking information. Notice here though too that because this is average and this is standard, they didn't change again. I mean, that's total sense. So let's go ahead then and let's go ahead and do let's do another one just so we can see. Let's do another purchase. Another purchase order. Once again, I'll just use copy document in order to go ahead and pull all this stuff in. Copy it from the same document. We're going to still include header, recalculate lines. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and do this. Make sure that we update our invoice number. And I need to clear this before doing anything else so that we can get new item tracking lines for these items. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to clear all of this stuff. Oops. Go away. Doink. Manage, delete, because we're buying new things. And then we will go to our assigned serial numbers. Create the serial number information, but only for, oops, hold on. Let me go back here to our quantities and then go back to our item tracking lines now that we have that there. Assign our serial numbers, 5. No, we don't need the new lot numbers. We just need the new serial numbers. There they are. Awesome. Let's go back and let's put in some new prices of what we bought these for. We're going to go ahead and now we can do 5 more, but we're going to go maybe do let's do a big order of 40. Still 5 for that one. Let's do 30 here and another 35 for these. And this time maybe, oh wait a minute, now we had to get these for 9. These we had to get for 90 now. These were 15, and our costs have gone up. Oh, oops, that's way too much. 800, that would be really crazy. But there we go. So are we now adjusted our unit costs again? Let's go ahead and make sure that our dates on this, let's go ahead and make this a week later so that we can see what happens. And do home, release, approval process. Oh, oopsie. I meant to go ahead and send the approval request. And now we can go ahead and do post. So you can invoice. Perfect. And now if we go back to our items again, let's see how that adjusts the costs of what we just did. See, once again, it noticed these are our old costs. Let's take a screenshot. Yoink. So there we go. And if we go ahead and we do this again, we can go to our actions, period activities, adjust the costs. And there we go. So now you can see that the costs have been modified per the costing methods that we've been using. So, okay,
But,
and we can keep going.
wait.
Ah,
The customer jumps in and says, but shouldn't the ledger entries never change? I know we're looking at the item list, but so let's talk. Pop quiz. We have a bunch of ledger entry things in there. What's the difference between the item ledger entry and value entry?
well, value entry is the value of the item, not necessarily what the ledger is.
Mm-hmm. The reason I bring this up is I've actually seen some fairly notable VC people in the community have an aha moment publicly recently of, oh, is that what the value entry is for? So one of the things that is interesting to note on the item ledger entry when we're looking at it for this item is that all of the quantities are that lovely black text, but all the values are that drill down blue. And that is because these cost amounts and all that sort of things can potentially change and adjust based on underlying data. So if we drill down on these, where we end up is the value entries. I kind of wanted to highlight that and really spell that out again because it's an MB800 question and it's an important understanding question that you can't make changes to ledgers. You can only post adjustments to them. Mm-hmm. However, it makes all the sense in the world that the value of the goods sitting on the shelf in your warehouse will change. So how do you make the item ledger entry where you keep all the information about your items up to date with regards to that changing value? And this is how they did that. They split the quantity logic and the value logic into two separate ledger entries.
Yep. Okay.
And that can be a little bit confusing to folks who are new to the system that you can't change a ledger, but the value has changed. What do you do? Mm-hmm. And this can be an interesting thing that you can see the results of. And I'm putting Mark on the spot here. What happens if you did actually get charged that 800 for that item and someone miskeyed it and put in 80 instead? You would need to do a revaluation journal, yes?
Yes.
So let's see if we can do a revaluation journal and change the value of that cost. I'm a big fan of what if.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. And this for the 1060?
I think so.
That's the wrong document. That's the document.
But if you calculate the inventory value of that item via the button, we can grab the value of the current inventory of that 1060 item.
Okay, so 1060. I keyed too fast. Make sure we have the location code in here. Well, calculate inventory value.
And it makes sense. It's telling you, make sure you've run your adjust cost first.
Yeah.
Sure, that makes sense.
Oh, I guess I should have done this. I should have done it this way. Just so we have just that item.
Mm-hmm.
Just do that there. We should probably do it by location.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So for those following along, the calculate per drop down there lets you drive a little bit of how do you want to calculate this? Do you want it just at the item level and revalue everything in your inventory for everything? Like the price of this product has just changed. Or do you want to do it every single entry by entry? And by default, entry by entry is what we're going to do in this case.
Okay. And we're still using this. If I leave this blank, oh no, that's a filter. Never mind. So we can go ahead and do this. So here we go. I can actually.
So what that does is, since we said item ledger entry level, it brought in every currently present quantity in inventory into this journal for us to fill in and validate. To go, are these still currently the value, the price of this? And what's interesting is you can change the posting date to be, say, the 22nd, tomorrow, I think. Maybe you had to do that as part of the calculation
Nah,
process.
I think I need to do that as part of the calculations.
No worries, no worries. What this will let you do is you can then, as of this date, say these items are now all worth this new amount. So we can say that instead of these being worth, $8 to $9 each, we can be like, oh, there was a rush on these catnip sprays. The cats are fiending for the stuff, and it's gone through the roof, and they're now, in fact, worth 30.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
There's a global shortage of catnip.
So we could go ahead and do this for all of them.
Sure.
And say 30 and
Yep, there's a global rush. Our inventory is worth
35. No, that makes sense. It's just be 30.
Yep.
And then we could
Yep.
So we could post this, and then back when we went back to the item itself, and we take a look at the there's the new
amounts.
Yep. So
And
then if I look down here too, yeah, that's not going to go ahead and deal with the work with the unit costs, at least for this particular stuff.
But in fun and interesting bits, you'll see that there's also the cost as adjusted flag is now turned off.
Yep. So under normal circumstances, should we run this again after the fact?
Yep. Because we've done a bunch of adjusting.
Mm-hmm. Sure. No, that makes sense. And yeah, look, okay, so yeah, you're absolutely, yeah. So now it's coming in as 30 because when we adjusted everything we adjusted everything to 30. No, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So it's kind of neat. If you go into the value entries for this item, you'll see that there's now a bunch of little additive changes that have happened to yeah.
Weird, yeah.
Easier to get to
stuff around. Related.
So now if we go into the value entries under history, entries, value entries.
Oh, they're there.
Yep. So we'll see that now those are the individual adjustments. And if you do find entries on that, that's also neat kind of to look at. What this ended up doing is it created some value entries and whatnot that moved things around. And that would be the whole batch. So normally you might see, a whole lot of these transactions happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the quantities of all these items on the warehouse shelf haven't changed. So we don't need to move them in and out of stock, but what's in stock is now worth a whole bunch more.
And the entry type obviously is reevaluation.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's a important kind of understanding thing that ledgers get the initial transactions. And then when things change involving those transactions, then there's usually a sub-ledger type thing underneath it that brings the value. For those, that comes up a lot in the MB800 for consultants who are trying to study for that, understanding how the ledgers and those sub-ledgers, which change name a little bit, how those sub-ledgers and ledgers relate to each other is something you need to know.
Cool.
It's something to help when your customers get stuck and they've made an error. I cannot tell you how many times people will be like, "Oh, I meant to put in 10 each as a unit of measure, and I accidentally put 10 boxes, which is 10,000."
Yeah.
So how do I fix it? What do I do? So. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. Anyway, I think that just about covers those. I will reiterate that this was simple costing and adjustments and things like that. I know that there's lot tracking and serial number tracking that also can go ahead. Well, we talked about serial number and specifics a little bit there. That can also impact a lot of this. It depends really on what your system needs, what your client needs to go ahead and figure out the best methods for going ahead and doing this.
Yeah, and it's no joke that I actually have an entire book just on inventory costing and NAV, so it is its own topic for sure. I forget where exactly.
I think I have a really old one, actually.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
No, that's not exactly the same, but
No,
back in
that's
the
the
old.
one.
Oh no, is that the one that you're talking about?
Yeah, the inventory costing has not changed significantly since
Yeah.
Scott wrote that.
Okay then. Anyway, but okay.
Now what?
Now what? I know that we can talk about bins a little bit, but really, I mean, uh, we really kind of need more data in the system in order to go ahead and kind of really produce some of this functionality and what we're trying to do with the entire system as a whole. Um, I know that Thursday, I know I said this at the beginning of the stream. I know that Thursday we were saying that we're going to go ahead and do a little bit of the assembly to stock assemblies because maybe we've got a package for the plays the thing that we're going to go ahead and sell. Maybe it's got some DOS, like a dog biscuit, holiday pack or something that allows for that gives us a whole bunch of biscuits and stuff like that for that we can sell, and we're going to need to go ahead and assemble those into little packages in our warehouse to go ahead and provide that as a separate thing. So we'll probably do that Thursday. And now that Jeremy's here, we can go ahead and talk about the next upcoming plans and things. Next week we are off
Yeah.
because of conferences. So yay. The week following that is our in between the.
That is
I'm looking
the
for a
week
calendar.
between Dynamics Minds and Tech Days.
Yes.
So,
26.
yeah. Well, to be fair, I moved to Sweden and then suddenly heard of week numbers, so that's not a common
Yeah.
parlance.
Week 23. Yep.
But yeah, so the next 3 weeks are going to be a little heavy with conferences and classes, which, again, if you didn't know about it, Mark and I both have a whole bunch of classes coming up.
Oh, yes.
And I would very much encourage people to go to sparebrain.com and check out all of our education offerings and that fun stuff. Because there are a bunch of classes, including some in that week upcoming. So definitely stop by, check those out. If you can't attend because it's not a good scheduling, you can choose a download only. So that way you can just get a copy as soon as it's available. We'll email a recording of the sessions, and we're pretty reachable. You can ask us questions.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're here and people don't ask questions.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of stuff coming up. So for the next 3 weeks, we're probably going to pause on streaming altogether. Once BC Tech Days, which we're super happy to be sponsors of, is over, then we will be doing some new rounds of streaming. So we'll get those on the schedule and we'll get those up on like LinkedIn and things like that for people to see when they're coming. We're going to be taking a couple different branching approach as we go into June, mid-June with those new streams. This style is going to continue on with the next company. So we'll do some in-house discussions of which one's the next one. We've got 4 to go. But Mark and I will also do some streams collaboratively where we're going, okay, great. You guys have done a fantastic job of setting up the plays the thing. Now, where's my app that I can just hit make me the same data?
Yeah.
So we'll be doing some of that as an on-stream thing. So expect that we'll be returning in the middle of June, going over some of these different dates and all that fun stuff, and we'll get them scheduled up. But 3-week break and lots of classes in between. So if you just miss the sounds of our voices to fall asleep to, you can register and download that, and we'll help you get some good sleep. We're cheaper than melatonin in some countries.
Oh, alrighty. Anything else, guys?
Uh-huh.
No, no, we good. We good. All right.
No? Okay. Well, then, for those of you who will be in Slovenia next week, looking forward to meeting some of you. I'm giving a couple of talks on that one, and looking forward to talking about how to be efficient with Visual Studio Code and some things along those lines. And then more of you, I would imagine, will be at BC Tech Days in Antwerp.
Yes.
And that's going to be all sorts of fun. 2-day event, unless you're going to the pre-conference days. I think many of them are sold out. And for those of you who are streaming along with us and enjoying all sorts of fun things, we might have some goodies for people who come stop by and meet Mark and I at BC Tech Days.
Yeah.
And
They're cool looking goodies.
Yeah. They're definitely a sort of brain teaser situation going on.
Oh my god, this is a minefield for dad jokes for you guys.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was half the point.
It's
Yeah.
giving me a brain aneurysm.
Oh man.
So
Okay.
yeah, we'll see. I'm just gonna be lazy and do a
Okay.
tiny little brain tease
Yeah.
for the people who want a little bit of a spare brain to rubber duck with. So,
But anyway.
Yeah, we're going to need some of those spare brains because in Sweden it's frankly warmer than the Mediterranean conference it is right now, where we're melting in the office. So we'll need those spare brains to get ourselves back together in June.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will hopefully see you guys over the next couple of weeks at various
Thursday?
conferences and
On
places.
Thursday,
Yeah, well, yes, we'll be here Thursday to kind of go over assemblies.
Slovenia.
Things like that. And
And off camera, we're busy working on some second edition things.
Yeah.
Which I need to get back to work on.
Me too.
All righty. Thanks, guys.